You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am Jacob Valk, and I have to start with what happened in Minnesota yesterday. The three Minnesota teams that are in season, the Twins, the Wild, and the Timberwolves, were all scheduled to play at home. But because of yet another senseless killing of an unarmed black man by the police in the Minneapolis area, the three teams didn't play. It is important to note that the games didn't get canceled. They just got pushed back. The Twins game is going to be made up tomorrow as part of a doubleheader. Blues Wild is going to be rescheduled for May 12th. And Nets Timberwolves is going to tip off at 4 p.m. 3 p.m. Central Time. It's kind of funny. Before I get into it too much, one of my friends called me in an absolute furor. And he said, "Jacob, I'm done with sports. I can't believe this, blah, blah, blah." He thought all baseball, hockey, and basketball games were being postponed. He didn't know that it was just the Minnesota game, so I had to talk him off the ledge. I agree 100% with what these teams did. You can go back and listen to the episode where I spoke about the boycotts that the NBA, the NHL, and the MLB did after the Jacob Blake shooting. It's almost 100% applicable. You want to watch us play? We don't want to get shot by police for no reason. You don't like being inconvenienced? We're inconvenienced to the nth degree as black men in this country. You can deal with it for a day. That is a perfectly reasonable mindset, and it's a mindset that, I gotta be honest with you, I support. I don't mind what these teams did. Look, as a fan of one of those six teams, the Twins, the Red Sox, the Blues, the Wild, the Timberwolves, and the Nets, you have a right to be upset that you didn't get to see them yesterday. I fully expected to flip-flop between the Yankees game and the Nets game. When I saw that their game was pushed back, yeah, I was upset. But hey, I got to watch a Garrett Cole start unimpeded. I mean, I'll get into the Yankees in a moment, but Was I upset that I didn't get to see the Nets yesterday? Yeah. You have a right as a fan to be upset. No one's begrudging you for that. But you've got to understand that there's something bigger going on. For God's sake, in the state of Minnesota, Derek Chauvin, the cop who murdered George Floyd, is currently on trial. And I think the defense started today. And let's be honest. Even though Derek Chauvin, in the eyes of many, murdered George Floyd, don't you think there's a pretty strong chance that he's going to get away with it? When was the last time a white cop was held accountable for killing a black man? Or a black woman, for that matter, in the case of Breonna Taylor, and so many others. Can you seriously think of one? Because I can't. Minneapolis and the surrounding cities are on a knife's edge right now. That is a very volatile situation. For goodness sake, the National Guard was just called in. So with protests happening not that far away from those three arenas, do you really think it's in anyone's best interest to play a game? The answer is no, it's not. You know what upsets me most about this whole thing, to tell you the truth? It's the fact that I said after George Floyd died that hopefully his death would spark some real change. It doesn't seem like it has. Since then, we've had Jacob Blake, the black member of the armed forces that was pepper sprayed for no good reason. I don't remember his name. It's a heartbreaking video. And now Dante Wright. Another senseless death. And, by the way, how stupid do you have to be if you're that cop? You want to tase him. You scream, taser, taser, taser. If that's what you ended up doing, we're not talking about this right now. But you end up shooting him. The Brooklyn Center police chief, Tim Gannon, said that the cop in question meant to fire her taser instead of her gun. She pulled out her gun by accident. If you don't know the difference between feeling a taser or feeling a gun, you shouldn't be a cop. It's just that simple. Kim Potter, that's her name, should not be a cop. But I'll say this, Potter was a member of the Brooklyn Center Police Department for 26 years. In those 26 years, how do you not know where you keep your taser and where you keep your gun? How can you not feel the difference? I understand it's heat of the moment. You've got Wright, who, in all fairness, isn't a saint in all this. He was resisting arrest. He got back in his car after the cops were trying to put him in handcuffs. Okay, that's wrong. That's resisting arrest. But then he gets shot. Now he's dead. At the end of the day, Dante Wright's actions shouldn't have led him to being shot. Tased? Sure. No problem. We're not talking about this right now. But now he's dead. And what drives me nuts is the vilifying. You hear people saying, well, Dante Wright had an outstanding warrant. This guy isn't a saint. He did resist arrest. So let me get this straight. Just because Dante Wright wasn't going to be canonized by the Catholic Church, that means it's okay that he was shot? That's not how it works. Wright was on the phone with his mom before the fatal shot was fired. And his mom, Katie Wright, said that her son, Dante, told her that they pulled him over because he had air fresheners hanging from the rearview mirror. If that is true, that is why he was pulled over to begin with, that is a textbook example of racial profiling. Go out to a busy parking lot and tell me how many cars you see with air fresheners hanging from the rearview mirror. Or hell, it doesn't have to be an air freshener. It could be a bow. It could be a rosary. It could be a mask. It could be the dice that Han Solo had. And then if you want, you can ask them if they ever had a problem with the police because of that. If it is true that that is why he was pulled over in the first place, Derek Chauvin is just one racist out of many in police departments surrounding the Twin Cities. Now, I said that I supported what these teams did to sit out these games. And yes, if you make that decision as a team, fine, I have no problem with it. See, the only downside that I saw to the teams boycotting games after the Jacob Blake shooting was, you've got the NBA in Florida, you've got the NHL in Canada. What does that have to do with Wisconsin? The Milwaukee Bucks I can understand, but if it's a game between two other teams, that's really not impacting you. Basically, all you did was just inconvenience your fans who had nothing to do with what happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Now, I'm not begrudging the teams for making those decisions. Alright, it was a powerful statement. The NBPA wanted to use the bubble as a platform for Black Lives Matter. They had this megaphone and they wanted to use it. I get that. That's all well and good. It's just, again, you're in Florida, that happened in Wisconsin. Something similar happened to the Yankees. The Yankees were in Florida. In fact, they're still in Florida. This shooting happened in Minnesota. Has nothing to do with the Yankees. Has nothing to do with the Blue Jays. The Yankees played. But one guy who was in the starting lineup decided that he was more important than the team. Aaron Hicks. Hicks was supposed to be in the starting lineup, but he went to Aaron Boone and said, Skip, I can't play. So Boone took him out of the starting lineup, which is the right decision. If a player says he can't play, you gotta do what you've gotta do if you're the manager. But what kind of a message does that send I don't feel like playing because of something that happened thousands of miles away, so I'm not going to be there to help my team win? Aaron Hicks, I didn't know it was possible for me to hate you more than I already did. You're an overrated piece of garbage. You know that? How dare you put yourself in front of the team under the guise of Black Lives Matter? Giancarlo Stanton played. There were rumors that he was thinking of sitting out. He didn't. Every Yankee that Boone wanted to use was at his disposal except you. You thought you were more important than the team. If your team doesn't make the decision to postpone their game, you get your ass out to center field and play. Although maybe it's a good thing you didn't, because Mike Tauchman looked pretty good. He got a single, didn't make any errors. And let me tell you, I think Tauchman's better than you anyway. I think you're incredibly overrated. I don't know why Brian Cashman likes you so much. But think about this for a second, all right? At the end of the day, Hicks sitting out doesn't affect the Yankees' chances of winning. They got the win. They got the win primarily because of Garrett Cole and Kyle Higashioka. Can you imagine if Cole said, I'm too affected by this? I can't start tonight? Can you imagine if Higashioka said, I can't catch tonight? I'll be available as a backup, but I don't want to be in the starting lineup? If that happened, the Yankees lose because Sanchez can't catch Cole for some stupid reason. And I can say this with confidence. Gary Sanchez isn't hitting 2 home runs. Thank God it was a peon like Aaron Hicks that decided not to play. If it was a guy like Cole or Higashioka, I'd be screaming bloody murder right now. And look, the Yankees won, so it's not a big deal. Hey, Aaron Hicks, all you did was prove that the Yankees don't need you to win. So way to shoot yourself in the foot, I guess. It's like the first thing you'll learn in Little League. You're not more important than the team. Aaron Hicks decided not to abide by that core tenet of sports. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, Jacob, Kyrie Irving isn't going to play tonight. You're a Nets fan. You deal with players from your team sitting out games. Why are you picking on Hicks? It's different. The Nets are okay with Irving sitting out because they know it's going to help keep him fresh for the playoffs. I've said this a million times about the Nets. The regular season means nothing for them. It's all about the playoffs. It's April 13th. We're about as far away from the MLB postseason as you can be. It's 2 completely different situations. If you can't see that, I can't help you. I didn't know it was possible for me to hate Aaron Hicks more than I already did. But let me tell you, after that stunt he pulled yesterday, I lost all respect for him. And if I was Brian Cashman, I'd have half a mind to trade him. And you sell it to the team as this. If you guys want to make the decision as a team to sit out a game, okay, that's a powerful statement. I respect that wholeheartedly. But if your 25 brothers are okay with playing you better be out there to support him. If Aaron Boone wants to put you in the starting lineup, get out there. If he doesn't, sit on the bench. I understand that Hicks is upset by what happened to Dante Wright. He has a right to be, no pun intended. I'm upset too. But if you have a job to do, you need to do it. Unless everyone else in your organization is sitting out. It's just that simple. Alright, now I'll give you some NFL Valk talk. And I'll start with Julian Edelman retiring. It first came out that the Patriots had cut Edelman with a failed physical designation. It seemed like his knee still wasn't at 100%. Then we heard that he was actually thinking about retiring. Now it's official. Julian Edelman is gone until he decides that he wants to join his old teammates, Brady and Gronk, in Tampa Bay. You can't tell me that that's not a possibility. Usually, I wouldn't talk about retirements, but Edelman's is interesting. It brings up a very interesting question. Is Julian Edelman a Hall of Famer? Let me explain both sides of the argument. And then I'll tell you what I think. First, the argument for putting him in. Julian Edelman has 3 Super Bowls and was the best wide receiver on those teams. At the end of the day, it does mean something to be Tom Brady's best wide receiver. Was he the go-to guy every year? No. Rob Gronkowski was there. So was a guy like Brandon LaFell, Chris Hogan. But in terms of being wide receiver 1, that was Julian Edelman. And he held that distinction for 3 Super Bowl winning seasons. He has the iconic moment. The incredible catch on the tipped ball that went through the Falcons defender's legs. It's one of the best catches in Super Bowl history. Integral reason why the Patriots were able to come back from 28-3. And against the Rams, he was probably the best player on the field. He had 10 catches for 141 yards. He won Super Bowl MVP. He also has 3,000-yard seasons under his belt. That's the argument for putting Edelman in the Hall of Fame. Here's the argument for keeping him out. He never made a Pro Bowl. He was never All-Pro. And you take a look at his career numbers. 620 catches for 6,822 yards and 36 touchdowns. Those are not Hall of Fame numbers. If you like receiving yards, there are a lot of wide receivers with more receiving yards than Edelman that aren't going to sniff the Hall of Fame. Guys like Shawn Jefferson, Jarvis Landry, Dwayne Bowe, Michael Crabtree. There's no way those guys are getting in the Hall of Fame. They all have more receiving yards than Edelman. And the 36 receiving touchdowns doesn't even put him in the top 250 all time. That's the argument against Edelman. I mean, basically it comes down to this. How much do you weigh his playoff success with his underwhelming regular season career? Look, I like playoff success. And if you look at dominance, Julian Edelman was one of the better wide receivers in the game. Was he ever top 5 or top 10? No. But was he in the top 20? Yes. I like the 3 Super Bowls. I like the iconic moment. I like the Super Bowl MVP. Also, I'll say this. There is something to be said about Edelman's journey. A 5'10" quarterback out of Kent State that no one thinks is going to succeed in the NFL. Belichick takes a flyer on him in the 7th round, switches him over to wide receiver, and he turns into one of the best players in Patriots franchise history. I would put Julian Edelman in the Hall of Fame. My buddy Nick, because I was texting with him yesterday about Edelman, he had the best line about Edelman, and I didn't think of this. This is really a great job by him. He's literally Andy Pettitte, but at a lesser position of importance. Starting pitcher is more important than wide receiver. Okay, it just is. And yeah, if you look at Andy Pettitte's regular season career, that probably doesn't get him in the Hall of Fame. But then you look at what he did in the postseason. Most wins in postseason history with 19. 5 World Series rings. Integral part of all 5 teams. I've cast my mock vote for Andy Pettitte before. It's the same thing with Edelman. I mean, this isn't a guy like Larry Brown or Dexter Jackson, who had one great game and was never heard from again. No, Julian Edelman won 3 Super Bowls. And was really, 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 really good in all 3 of those wins. Are there wide receivers that we need to put in before Julian Edelman? The answer is yes. We've got to put Reggie Wayne in, Torrey Holt, Steve Smith, Andre Johnson, and Hines Ward. But once we deal with that, we've got to address Edelman. He's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, there's no question. He's not in the upper tier with guys like Jerry Rice and Tim Brown and Randy Moss, guys like that. But after he waits a little bit, Edelman will get in. He'll get in his lifetime. And he'll deserve it. Moving on now to the Cardinals signing James Conner. And this is a great move. They lost Kenyon Drake in free agency. He's now a Raider. I don't know why the Raiders wanted him. They have Josh Jacobs, but whatever. Now Conner gets to replace Drake as the lead running back for a very scary Cardinals team. One of the winners of NFL free agency. They brought in A.J. Green. They brought in J.J. Watt. They brought in Malcolm Butler. They traded for Rodney Hudson. Now they have Connor, who I can make the argument is better than Drake. It's close. When I was ranking running backs for the Jets, I don't remember if I said that they should go after a running back in free agency, like a big one like they did with Bell. I don't think I did, but I was thinking about advocating for that at one point, and I don't remember if I had Connor ahead of Drake. I'll tell you, it's very, very close. I mean, Connor was solid last year. He had 721 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. He missed a few games. Yeah, he's not going to play 16 games. He's never played 16 games. But he's a really good running back. And the Cardinals have Chase Edmonds if and when Connor gets hurt. Obviously, they have Kyler Murray. This is a great move for the Cardinals. It makes perfect sense. I could very easily see them making the playoffs. Earlier, I brought up the Buccaneers. If Edelman does decide to go there, he won't just be teammates with Brady and Gronk. He'll also be a teammate of Giovanni Bernard's. And this is an interesting move for the Buccaneers. They have Leonard Fournette, and they have Ronald Jones. Let me just say that Fournette is better than Jones. I don't even think it's close. But why would Bernard want to sign with a team where he's going to be the third string running back? I mean, even then, that's best case scenario because they did draft Keyshawn Vaughn last year. Are we sure that Bernard is making the Buccaneers? I mean, Bernard is a solid player. Good backup running back. Very good pass-catching back. Last year for the Bengals, he had 416 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. He also had 47 catches for 355 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's a solid player. I like him. Not great, but there's a role for him in the league. I'm kind of surprised that he chose the Buccaneers. According to Jenna Lane of ESPN, the 49ers and Seahawks expressed interest in Bernard. Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network said that the Chiefs were interested. I mean, the Seahawks would have been a better fit. Rashad Penny is absolutely useless. And are we sold on DJ Dallas? I don't think so. I like Chris Carson, but he missed 4 games last year. The Chiefs would have made perfect sense. He would have been Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's backup. I kind of like the idea of Bernard in Andy Reid's offense. He's better than Darrell Williams. He's better than Darwin Thompson. That would have been the best fit. I don't mind him not wanting to go to the Niners. They've got a lot of mouths to feed. You've got Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert, and JaMychal Hasty to contend with. I don't mind not wanting to go there, but the Chiefs would have made a lot more sense than the Buccaneers. So would the Seahawks. My order of teams for Bernard would have been Chiefs, Seahawks, Buccaneers, Niners. But regardless, great job by Tampa Bay in convincing him to sign with them. They've retained all their in-house free agents. Now they're looking to outside the organization for some help. I like it. Until tomorrow, I am Jacob Valk saying that Yogi Berra never got in a slump. He just went through periods of time where he didn't hit.